Welcome and Merry Christmas. Some of you have come from far away as Montana. Some of you have come from around the corner. Maybe your family invited you to come, but you're all welcome for Christmas Eve here at Unity. We have some traditional elements this year. Of course, the choir is singing. And our children from the family ministry have a pageant for us called the 12 Points of Light, which we're all looking forward to. And at the end, we will have our traditional silent night procession through the gardens, which are specially lit up as they were back on December 10th for our United in Light. So if you weren't here that night, you'll get to see them. You'll get to see what they look like. We also have a couple new additions, and most of you know that we have 3 ministers, 2 of which don't live near. And in the spirit of allowing them to be with their families on Christmas, we have a recorded message, both from Reverend Blair and from Reverend Shara. And of course, after tonight's service, we will have a contemplative service with Craig Stephen Phillips. So you can join us for that. So now we're going to light, we've been doing this since November 27th, lighting the Advent candles for each week. And week 1 is hope and faith. Next is peace. Next is love. And finally, joy. And now tonight, Advent, our period of waiting and anticipation, is over. So now we can light the Unity candle. And in Unity, we teach that Christmas isn't some event that happened 2,000 years ago, but it's an eternal, everlasting event that happens within each of us when we open to hope and peace and joy and love. So let's stand and sing, O Little Town of Bethlehem.
Oh Hello, everyone at Unity of Tustin. Merry Christmas. The birth of Jesus is surrounded by stories, stories filled with images, images that point us to ancient archetypes that are active in our souls and meant to be expressed in a greater way. The Christmas story is about us connecting with these in a way and to allow a new awareness of them become a new expression of them in our lives. So we'll look at three of these images. The first is love. If you think of the images of Mary and Joseph caring for the infant Jesus, that represents our receptivity to love's guidance in us to care for a new awareness of the Christ, awakening in us, being birthed in a new way that we can give it expression. A love that is meant to expand and embrace not only us, but to embrace everyone and everything in the world. So I invite you to be aware of and activate this gift of love in a new way to bless you and to bless your world. The second gift I invite you to contemplate and incorporate is life. The animals that are a part of the Christmas story represent the multifaceted expression of God's life. God wants us to experience this life in a greater way and to be a radiant expression of that life so that we become a catalyst for healing, not only for ourselves, but for those around us, just as Jesus is. So I invite you to be alive with this life of Christ. The third gift is light. The Magi were guided by the light of the star, and the shepherds were inspired by the light of the angels singing, and they in turn began singing about that peace on earth and goodwill to all. The light that led the Magi and the shepherds to Jesus represents that light that is within us. You are that light. Let your light shine. Let the Christmas experience be about these three gifts: the love, the life, the light of the Christ that you are. Bring these gifts to your life. Bring these gifts to your world. It will indeed be a blessing. My highest thoughts are with you. Merry Christmas.
Here we go. My name is Erin Hostetler, and I am the lucky one that has the privilege of being with our youth and family. And boy, do we have something for you guys this evening. Are we ready, guys? Are we so excited? Okay. Okay, so they've all been working for many weeks on this special gift for you all. That actually, I think it's been quite some time since we've been able to offer a YFM performance for Christmas. So it's incredible. But it is called the 12 Points of Light, and it takes us through the metaphysical journey of Christmas story. Okay, so are we ready, you guys? All right, let's do it. Just those two. Good job. I don't know, where should I put this?
I light this candle for the city of Bethlehem.
Bethlehem means house of bread, so it represents a consciousness of divine substance which is always surrounding each of us. It tells us that God provides all that we need to live an abundant life. Bethlehem had no walls, which means we are all supported by Spirit as long as we are willing to accept it into our lives. I'm going to say this once and then we're going to say it all together. I am grateful for all the gifts from God, which provides a wonderful life for me. I am grateful for all the gifts from God, which provide a wonderful life for me.
light this candle for the stars.
Because stars are in heaven, and though heaven was the home of God, they symbolize ideas which come from God, or rather from the human mind. The Christmas star was special because it not only represents divine ideas from God, but the power to lead an inner understanding. This requires our desire to see with spiritual eyes, just as the wise men did. They were the only ones to see the stars. I'll say this once. I acknowledge the Christian presence within me, and I live from it.
Christmas. I light this candle for the angels.
The angels symbolize the messengers from God. Angels appear in the Gospels only when individuals need to become aware of the presence and turn in the presence of God. We remember that the angels are also the ministers of Jesus. Following the 40 days in the wilderness, angels remind us that we are never alone, that God is with us and in us and all around us at all times. I'm going to say this once, and then you're going to repeat after me. I am open to the divine direction I receive, and I act upon it. I am open to the divine direction I receive, and I act upon it.
Hi.
I light this candle for King Herod.
Herod represents the negative parts of our mind. He stands for our ego. When we are in ego, we do not understand our true nature. We must move away from the world and our connection to it in order to have the things of spirit and to discover our inner divinity. This requires great faith and trust. I'll say this once and we'll all say it together. I let go and let God manifest the good prepared for me. Now together.
I let go and let God manifest the good for me.
prepared for me.
I light this candle for Joseph.
Joseph's name means whom Jehovah will add to. Being a man, Joseph symbolizes all aspects of our thinking nature. But Joseph is a special man because he hears and responds to angelic messages. So he metaphysically represents a willingness to provide and create a place for God in his life and the life of his family. I'm going to say this once, or I'm going to say it all together. I establish and maintain a place in my life for prayer and meditation. I establish and maintain a place in my life for prayer and meditation.
I light this candle for Mary and the mother of Jesus. Mary symbolized the purified consciousness or soul, which is ready to allow the full expression, the divine spark within her as mother of Jesus. Mary represents love in the highest sense. Her youth suggests vitally as yet unrealized possibilities throughout. Although Mary does not individual spiritually change and transform herself, she acts as willing channel for this to happen. not only for herself, but for others. I'll say this once and you'll say it. I nurture the spiritual desire in me to bring forth love.
Candle for baby Jesus.
Jesus' birth symbolizes a brand new idea, the integration of all that is human and all that is divine within the soul. The Hebrew meaning of Jesus is deliverer, savior. The baby Jesus metaphysically stands for the image of God in each one of us. When we bring our feeling and thinking natures together, we will discover the spiritual mission given to us that will fulfill us completely. I'll say it once and then we'll all say it together. I have a special purpose in my life and I commit myself to it. I have a special purpose in my life and I commit myself to it.
I light this candle for the manger.
As a container of food for domestic animals, a manger symbolizes our humanness in the form of our body. Metaphysically, our bodies are holy temples that house and give physical form to our God nature. With these bodies, we are able to express God's love into our world and so are able to complete the spiritual mission we have been given. I'll say it once and we'll all say it together. I take care of my body and I honor it as a holy temple. I take care of my body and honor it as a holy temple.
I light this candle for the shepherds.
That the shepherds leave their flock, their wealth unattended, to find the child clearly indicates the symbolic laying go of their attachments and worldly possessions. They metaphysically represent their thoughts that are only on God. Because of their faith, they are awakened by the angels in the darkness, ignorance, or not knowing, into a great truth. Their obedience led them to where the child lay. As I say and you repeat, I choose to hold on to the positive, creative thoughts. I choose to hold on to the positive, creative thoughts.
We light this candle for the animals.
Little kitty cat, he wishes you a meowy Christmas. Oops. Okay. Okay, so each animal in the Christmas story metaphysically represents both the positive and negative human traits we all experience. The camels represent strength and endurance, but also rudeness and bad temper. The sheep represent honesty, courage, and obedience, but they also represent stubbornness and independence. Choosing a positive expression, our inner qualities will expand our spiritual experience. So I'm going to say our affirmation. I call forth my spiritual qualities and I express them now. I call forth my spiritual qualities and I express them now.
I light this candle for the wise men, also known as Magi.
These men were knowledgeable in many fields and were usually astrologers. Metaphysically, they represent wisdom. Only the wise men can see the star. They remind us that following our intuition or Holy Spirit doesn't rely on our human mind. By their examples, they encourage us to follow the divine promptings of our lives. Only then can miracles really occur. So I'm going to say this affirmation once, then after we're going to do it all together. I listen to my still small voice and receive the divine wisdom that I need in every situation. All together now. I listen to my still small voice and I receive the wisdom that I need in every situation.
The gifts symbolize all that is brought to us when we but come from a consciousness of service and our divine connection. Just as the baby Jesus did nothing except to come into the world, as we honor our own divine mission and serve the world from the spiritual first, all these things are added unto us. Because we have the first given, we will receive from God all that we may need. I'll say it first and then all together. I give all that I have and all that I am to bring forth peace on earth and goodwill to everyone. I give all that I am and all that I have to bring forth peace on earth and goodwill to everyone.
Hello? It works? Does this work? It's working? Okay. I can't hear. This is bright light. OMG. I can't sing. Sorry. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This big heart of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big heart of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big heart of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This kind's mind of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This kind's mind of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This kind mind of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around my neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around my neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Merry Christmas Eve, Unity of Tustin. Merry Christmas Eve, beloved community, from my New Mexico home to my Tustin home. You are all a source of hope, peace, love, and joy this Christmas and Hanukkah season and beyond. And today, we are here to celebrate the origin story of Jesus. And many of you may be Marvel fans who enjoy great origin stories. And we could say Jesus is the original superhero who demonstrates how our divinity and our humanity are one. So Jesus taught through parables and stories. And it's fitting that an epic storyteller like Jesus was birthed in an epic story himself, the epic story of Christmas. And what stories do is what Christmas does. It really is the same phenomenon. Stories take the universal, the stuff of eternity, and squeezes it into a finite, concrete story, not as a literal truth, but as a way shower of the truth beneath the truth, the finger pointing at the moon. And this is what Christmas does. It takes the universal, the stuff of eternity, and squeezes it into finite, concrete human story. The story of Jesus, for example, or the story of you, or the story of me. Christmas squeezes divinity into all life, so we know that all of creation is good and holy. So the story of Jesus predates his birth. And it begins with his mother Mary, who was visited by the angel Gabriel and was offered the opportunity to birth God into the world. And Mary pondered this just as we do when we also get this opportunity from time to time. And Mary gave her consent. She said, yes, I will take the universal, the stuff of eternity, and squeeze it into the life of my son, Jesus. Now, at this same time, the Roman ruler Caesar passed a law that everyone had to be accounted for and taxed. So although pregnant, Mary and Joseph had to travel miles up a steep mountain to Bethlehem. And by the time they arrived, Mary was in labor, but there was no room at the inn. And she had to give birth in the dark, without doctors, in a barn that was only heated by the breath of the barn animals themselves. And here, surrounded by shepherds who were considered the outcasts of the community, and surrounded by animals that were considered unclean, and surrounded by a few of the wise who knew how to see that truth behind the truth, but who also lived on the edges. In this place, God as humanity is born into the world. So what does this story tell us about the nature of God? But for one, Mary and Joseph are forced to travel to Bethlehem to comply with Caesar's census so they could be accounted for and taxed. So we see right away that even though Mary is pregnant with God, she's not protected from unjust laws. What we might call suffering or sorrow or fears turn out to be the circumstances in which God prefers to be born. Even being unjustly persecuted is holy. And from the get-go in the Christmas story, we are told that birthing God, bringing the eternal into the finite, does not win us special favors or privileges. We are taught that grace does not mean having an easy life. Grace is our capacity to bring forth God in all circumstances. In fact, in the story of Christmas, once Joseph and Mary arrive in Bethlehem, there isn't even lodging. Not even for a pregnant woman about to give birth, who you think would be given some extra compassion. But no, as we famously talk about in Unity, there was no room at the inn. No room at the inn. So what does the inn represent? Metaphysically, the inn is the intellect, where we live through predicting and controlling our environment. And the inn is also where all the nice, well-connected, middle-class people gather the place of creature comforts and privilege and status. But curiously, the God of our Christian tradition is a God who says, I will not be born here. Perhaps God cannot be born at all in the comfort of the inn. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I've spent a lot of my life energy making sure my kids and I have security and comfort and the ability to get a room at the inn. And yet our Christian tradition tells us that God is not birthed in such spaces. Instead, God is born in a barn, on coarse, pokey straw, warmed by the breath of animals. Now, a barn birth may seem quite idyllic, giving birth under a starlit sky and good weather with sweet animals all around. But how many people in this room have given birth? So giving birth is a wonderful thing, but you couldn't pay me enough frankincense, gold, and myrrh to give birth in a barn. Now, I want a doctor and water and a sanitized bed. There's nothing glamorous about giving birth in a barn and putting your newborn child in a food trough, what we more sentimentally call a manger, crusted with remnants of old saliva and whatnot. That's my version anyway. So why does this happen? Now, it's a good question. Why in this story is Jesus born in a barn? What Jesus's epic origin story teaches is that new forms of God are not born into the world where we are comfortable. God is born in the margins, on the edges, on the fringe. And we need new forms of God to be born in this world. The collective consciousness that exists is not sufficient to meet the challenges of our modern world with its 12 billion people. We will be saved by the Christ. What does that mean? We will be saved by the Christ, by the birth of the new in our midst. We will be saved by the Christ, by what doesn't yet exist, but what will emerge through us, as us. In the words of Neil Donald Walsh, yearning for a new way will not produce it. Only ending the old way can do that. You cannot hold on to the old, all the while declaring that you want something new. The old will defy the new. The old will deny the new. The old will decry the new. There is only one way to bring in the new. You must make room for it. So to birth the new, my sweet family, we must make room for it. Not by evicting guests at the inn, but by leaving the inn altogether and going out to the margins of your life, the margins of your comfort, the margins of your consciousness, where there is room for the new to be welcomed and born. So what does the Christmas story say to indwelling people like you and I? Because almost every one of us here is an indweller. And the Christmas story instructs you to lean into the edges and margins of your own life. It tells you to simplify where and when you can, to be generous with what you have, to share. It tells you to attune to the people living at the margins, because that is where God prefers to be born. And it tells you that when you hear that still small voice, when you too are pregnant with God, remove yourself from the niceties and the busyness of your life and go into that holy dark where you can't see and where you have no roadmap, and make room for something new to be born. So who is in school here? Who's in school? I'm in school with Gary and Jane Simmons. And school is a great place to bring forth spirit in the world simply by doing new things that interest you the very best you can, even if you're not good at them yet, even if you're a beginner. Because you can see the in as your strong suit, as something you're already good at. But to grow, to transform, to birth new varieties of God into the world, you need to move into the dark edges and engage in the things you are not good at and don't know how to do. Perhaps it's ice skating or talking things out in a good way when you are angry. Or maybe it's serving on our board here at Unity of Tustin. Maybe you're interested, but it's out of your comfort zone. And you want to lean into your edge by taking the board orientation that's going to be offered Sunday, January 15th. Yeah? I'm just saying, it could be something like that, just make room. Leave the comfort of your crowded in and say yes. So what else does the Jesus origin story teach us? What else does Christmas teach us? It teaches us to have hope, faith, love, and joy by remembering this. Even when there is no room at the inn, God, it turns out, is born anyway. God is born anyway. We can, and I would say should, do our part. But even when we don't, and this is our divine burn, God is still being born moment by moment as our very breath. Because what Christmas also teaches is that there is no separation between spirit and matter, between holiness and flesh, between sorrow and joy, between the light and the dark, between God and all of creation. All of it is holy. And Christ is the recognition that all of creation is always already holy. It's both and. We can consciously participate and we can just rest in our unconscious, childlike purity. Because good or bad, just or unjust, God is loving us and raining down blessings on all. So this is the paradox. While we can consciously participate, Christmas is waking up to the awareness that we are loved by God no matter what. And we are birthing our Christ light into the world with every breath. And when we become aware that, like in Jesus, the Christ principle is incarnated as us, we are always already redeemed and made whole. So these are our metaphysical takeaways from the Christmas story. With the birth of Jesus, we recognize that love connects and creates all creation, and that where there is the least comfort and status, there is often the most awareness of this love. We are taught to not be afraid and live knowing we are in every moment birthing love of the world into the world. And with the birth of Jesus, we recognize that everything is inherently and intrinsically already holy. That's why we decorate everything. And by celebrating the birth of Jesus, we also celebrate the holiness of our own sacred existence in Christ light. So this year, beloved family, Hanukkah and Christmas overlap. And my hope is that you burn like the shamash candle, the candle that lights all the other candles, as we all light each other's candle as the beloved community in tonight's candle lighting ceremony to come. So God bless you all. I love you, I miss you, and I wish you a merry and holy Christmas. And now I turn it over for more voices of unity and to our beloved Mary Jean for our offering blessing. God bless. Merry Christmas. Good night.
Okay, we get to sing Joy to the World. Joy to the world, the Lord is the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat, repeat the sounding joy. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders, wonders of his love.
So we've come to the time of our love offering, and your heart is very full right now, I just know. And I just want to talk a little about what a love offering is, because sometimes we confuse it with, well, it's what I have in my change purse or whatever. A love offering is a deep offering of your heart. It's a recognition that God is your source, not your job, not your family, not your lottery ticket, but God. The all that is the source of everything that we have. And when we share that, instead of diminishing what we have, it actually increases what we have. So I invite you to give from your heart, and we have several ways to give. The ushers are going to come around with their baskets, but we realize that cash and checks is sort of old economy, maybe. So in the back, we have a kiosk where you can use your credit card or debit card to make a donation. You can also go to our website, and we also appreciate a recurring donation. This church operates solely on donations. We don't receive anything from any other sources. So we count on these donations. We've been so blessed, especially in the last few months, where so many people have made end-of-year contributions. All the contributions from this year will go on this year's statement that you will receive in January. So just as an assurance for your tax purposes, that all these donations will come on the statement for 2022. So while we're doing the love offering, let's say the love offering blessing. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And now we have another song from the choir. Okay, so this is the little instructional part of our service. Does everyone have a candle and one of these holders? Okay, so you know what this is for. This is to keep the wax from going all over you and all over the chairs and everything else. So we're going to do that part, right? The ushers are going to come forward and they're going to light. Are they able to get to the Advent candles over there? Pardon? Okay. So they're going to light their candle, and then they're going to come around and light the candle of each person at the end of the row. Okay? And then when you hold your candle upward, your neighbor is going to turn their candle this way, because if you turn your lit candle this way, you know what's going to happen, right? Okay. So, and the choir is going to lead us in Silent Night. I'm going to go outside and I will be leading the procession through the gardens. So we will begin right now. Okay.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, all around yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.